All right, we're back in the final part of part 3 here of the Curbfind M105. Made in the USA with global parts, of course. And I did get the carb assembly clean. At the end of this video, I have a little bonus footage where I basically just show the condition of the carb. So I'm really hoping that obviously the ultrasonic did help out. It did really help out cleaning it, and it really made the bowl look very clean. So I'm hoping that this will, once I put it together, it works. If it doesn't work or if it has issues, then I could always just order a new carb. It's not a big deal. But yeah, this is a pretty wonky setup on this auto choke system. So once you have everything bolted kind of on it, you can see that this is going to be your thermostat that basically pulls that little lever. But the interesting thing is this part right here, it has to be pretty straight where it sits in the actual top of the carb. It's an interesting setup. So like obviously when your engine's running or when it's off, or like right now, the choke is closed. So as it builds up speed on the top, it pushes this actual fin that actually grabs it, and then as the muffler heats up, this part of the assembly shifts, and it basically leaves it open like that. So there's like a little bit of movement, but not much, and it's very interesting on it. It's like a weird kind of setup, but it has just enough play where it'll leave the choke open like that. So I guess it leaves it like that when it's fully heated, and then when it stops the fan, it basically kicks it back down. Now the only thing I would have a concern about is this rod maybe possibly jamming this over time, but I mean obviously if they had this set up like this and it worked, you can see that it kind of like doesn't necessarily bind. I don't think it goes underneath it, because if it went underneath it, it would never be able to, as soon as the fan, it wouldn't be able to pull the choke. So I hope I have this set up correctly. It looks like it's set up like this correctly. So yeah, and you have basically your governor rod already put on top. So what I'll do is I'll assemble it here, and then we'll put some gas in it, and I'll run it for a few minutes, and that'll be the end of the video, really. Maybe I'll clean it up a little bit. The deck, it looks pretty clean though, fairly clean. So I did clean out the gas tank just in case as well, because you never know. So I just want to make sure, because with the condition of how the carb was, I basically cleaned out the gas tank all the way. So yeah, so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and run it, or I'm sorry, place it back together. I'm just checking stuff here, just to see if there's anything loose or anything weird, but pretty standard here. There's nothing really going on top of it. So sorry about that. Let me get you a better angle. So yeah, it's a really interesting setup. I just honestly I don't remember running into this one on the last one I worked on this. But if it does need it, where this flap here needs to be on the inside, or vice versa, I could always just go back, uninstall it, and then just go ahead and correct the positioning of it. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and just attach everything. Let me start off first with maybe the cover. It's not dirty on the back, so this mower was relatively clean. So what I'll do first is there's a breather hose that basically goes on it, where it goes to the back of the hose part. We'll just make sure it's attached to it, and then we'll have it where it basically goes in like that. Just making sure that everything kind of lines up. I also want to make sure as I'm doing this that everything kind of free flows, and this is the one thing that I don't like, is how the spacing on this. It has space, the choke looks to be open, but if I push this anymore, it looks like almost like it's not clearancing. I'm wondering if I have this rod upside down. Which could be it, because when I took it off, it kind of just fell off. So let me just see here. This just slides right off with the gasket in the front. But I feel like I have maybe this rod, because the rod did fall off. Maybe it is upside down. Well, there goes the gasket. But here, let's see this part. Because if I run it possibly this way, does that have better clearance maybe? Let's find out. And then obviously you want to make sure that you have it on the outside, the fins, so it has movement. And maybe this is the correct way, having the rod as a bend like an L. So that was my mistake. So you could always double check. I mean, you obviously, as you're putting it back together, if you make any mistakes, you could always just correct it, and then you just make sure that that portion stays within this top portion here. So now, as it runs, you still have the thermostat wafer pulls, and then this will be running, and it'll basically open it. Okay. And then this is just the gasket for the actual mounting of the back of the plate. We have it lined up where you have all the openings and slots all open, okay? And then now we can check, as I push the back of the tube back in, how the clearance is. And I had the rivet on there too. But as you can see, that was actually the correct way, so that was my mistake. I always double check, but sometimes you never know. So now you have perfect, nothing's bumping into anything, and honestly, it looks like it's gonna hopefully work now. Looking at it, it looks like it'll work, hopefully. Doesn't look like anything's binding or hitting, the choke's opening. So what we'll do now is we'll put the two bolts back on. I really don't know what the spec is on these little bolts. They're small, so, you know, it's nothing crazy. You just gotta kind of line it up. I'll just tighten one down, then I'll tighten the other one down. We'll get it all the way there. I'll just make sure the hose, once again, is just into the back of the actual part, and it is. And then now we'll just tighten up the bolts. A couple of zaps. That should be good enough. It's nothing crazy on it. And the one thing I did mess up with, I probably should have, but I didn't, is put back the fuel line first, maybe, possibly. So what I'll do here, let me see if I can go ahead and maybe I'll have to disconnect it. See, I should have probably put the fuel line first and then put this cover back on. So that was my mistake again. But like with everything, we can fix it. It's not a big deal. Okay, let me just remove this for just a moment here. Okay. And then I'll put the fuel tank first on. And it just basically just slides on top. We'll line up the hose here. Try not to move everything. And let me just put the clamp back on. We'll put it onto the end. And I usually just make sure the tab part is usually facing upwards so it's not hitting anything possibly in the plastic part. But okay, so then we'll just line it up here. Okay, now we're nicely in. And once again, I'm just testing for movement here. So we do have steady movement so that things can move around and there's no binding anywhere that I could feel. So now I can reinstall the actual cover of it, making sure I hit it inside the actual part there, the tube part. And everything is lining up. You just kind of make sure it's pressed together. Yeah, I should have put on the gas tank first. So then I'm going to line up the bolts here, making sure that the hose part, just by feeling behind it, is on. And it feels like it is on. I'll just give it a little tug behind. Okay. Now that seems to be fine. Now what we'll do is we can then now reattach the cover. Lightly put it on the first bolt. Put on the second bolt. Making sure that it's tight on there. It's tight on there. Then what we'll do is we'll reinstall the air filter and the recoil assembly. And I could put in some fuel. A little bit, whatever I've left. I don't know if I need to get fuel, to be honest, but I think I should have enough. It's just like a little cone cover. And these actually just have tabs on the top. You just push it in, and then as you do it, you just slightly turn it. and then that's what locks it in place. So you just kind of turn it clockwise, and there, it's locked. And then we'll put the recoil assembly back on top. Making sure the dogs are not engaged, of course. You just want to kind of lightly make sure the dogs are not engaged. Going this way. Okay. And then we just got 3 10mm nuts for the top. We'll tighten these down here. In a second, I'm just showing just the. I'm just putting them on top, just finger starting them first. Don't want to strip those. They hold the recoil. And then what I'll do is I'll just zap them a little bit. It's nice and tight on there. And lastly, before I'll put gas in it right now. Make sure I check the carb for any type of leaks. But I'll go ahead and I'll put some gas in here. Being 140 cc, I don't need to fill this thing up too much. That should be enough. Probably like already half tank full right there. That much amount of gas. But it'll be good for testing. At least I could just see how it runs and operates. And what we'll do next, so that's topped off. Close this cap. The cap is kind of like janky. Clicks. Good. And what I'll do on this side is I'll just check the oil level again, just to make sure it is good. And I did change it out, so it looks like it is level, but we're just going to double check. I did put 10W30 in there. Make sure the dipstick tube drops down, pull it out, try not to make a mess, and we are right exactly at the full, as you can see. Almost full, all the way to the top, sorry, there he goes. You can see it's like right, maybe a little bit more, maybe like an ounce or two more, but for testing and how it is, I'll just leave it. So it is good. I do like the dipstick tube has a magnet on it though, so you can see if there's any metal on it. I believe that's a magnet, that little portion that sits in the center there. So what we'll do then is we'll go ahead and put this to the side here. We'll wipe it. And all right, and then now what we'll do is just get all the junk out of here, and I'll go ahead and go out there and see if we can go ahead and run it. Let me just go ahead and let me make the tripod a little bit bigger here, so you can see how it works. Sorry for the shakiness. Let me just go ahead and get that. Let me just increase the length on the legs on the tripod. All right. I'm going to always angle the camera up shortly. Let me just go ahead and get this outside. And in the meantime, I actually did clean the bag too. I just used a little bit of cleaner, or super clean. Sprayed it down, and then I'm just letting it air dry just because it's cloudy, so it's probably take like another hour. But this one is ready for testing purposes. You can see how it runs, at least. Hopefully it runs. Probably gonna say it's gonna take a few pulls, 1 to 2 pulls. We'll see. And what I'll do is I'll put a clamp on it, and I'll just let it run for a few minutes here, just to see if making sure everything is cleared out, everything's good. I'll wipe it down, and then it should be ready. All right, so I'll go ahead and start it. Simple pull type mower. I'm gonna say 2 pulls, maybe 3. ran for a few minutes there. I'm going to check to make sure the wafer's open on the carb, just because I want to make sure it stayed open. And looking at it, it is open. So it is working. It is working as designed. So that's good. And now we'll give it a second, like just to make sure it starts up on a start where you're basically stopping the lawnmower to move something out of your way, or somebody comes to talk to you for a little bit. Well, we'll see if it restarts. It should fire up and restart on the first pull. But it's very good that it's fired up on first pull. I really didn't think it was it's gonna take a few pulls. But I'm just feeling around. I'm just looking on my gloves to see if anything's leaking. Nothing's leaking. Everything is dry, which is great. And now we'll go to restart it, and if it restarts and runs for a couple seconds here, should be it. Just clean it off and try to get rid of it. It's good. So yeah, that wafer closes pretty quick though. I don't know if you guys noticed that it did go back almost to a choke position where you could hear it, and then it took it like a few seconds there to get caught, and it reopened it right away. So that's kind of interesting. Good, I guess it's a good design. But yeah, I don't think these engines are pretty much everything now with Craftsman, I believe, is like the newer style Briggs. So it's still like the same type of architecture. Obviously, it's not the Chinese ones. These were the Chinese ones for a few years they used. I don't think they picked up, and a lot of people were like, you know what, I'm just gonna skip going Craftsman going forward. Some people did take them. Obviously they were cheaper. They're probably like a $250, $300 model back in the day. So yeah, so it looks like it just needs a little clean, and then we can go ahead and list it, and that'll be the end of it. But yeah, hope you guys like this video. Like, comment, subscribe, tell me about all your projects currently, and I will catch you guys out on the next one. Take it easy.